traveling around in his van. So thank you for being here tonight on the live stream. Thank you for watching the replay. If you've been thinking about traveling in your van, if you've kind of been on the edge and what's keeping you from doing it, hopefully tonight we're going to share some information with you and a story from Terry, our guest, that'll get you to the next step in your journey. That's what this is all about. Howdy, my name is Scott. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Go Small, Live Large, all about the camper van travel experience. Just a delight to be here. We come at you every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central to help you be a better RVer, whether you're no time still researching, part-time taking cool trips of days, weeks, or months, or even a full-time traveler like myself, just starting my 5th year of full-time travel in my Winnebago Travato. This is not my van behind me. There's a story there. We'll share that in just a second. Let me share with you our program tonight. Terry, our guest, Travato owner, is going to share his story of achieving freedom. It's pretty. I hope to not get choked up. I get a little emotional with these things. And we got Libation Live. This is a toasted. I'm not doing toasted tonight. I'm doing a small batch, actually. Changed my mind. And we have a good song for you. This was Terry's choice, so you don't want to miss that. We're simulcasting on LinkedIn tonight. We do this kind of sporadically. We'll probably just start doing this regularly. Why not, right? It's a click of a button for me. And if you're coming at us from LinkedIn, thanks for being here. What we do here is talk about van life. And a lot of people in corporate America want to do van life. So welcome to you from being on LinkedIn. This is our poll tonight. Let me zoom in here for you so you can see this. We posted this a few hours ago. Kind of the topic tonight is freedom in traveling in a van. So the question is, and if you want to answer this real time in our chat tonight, that would be awesome. Or after this posts on the replay, what is holding you back from traveling more in your camper van? So the options are: my job is holding me back, my family, my health, I need more money. How about I need a van? So if any of that is kind of top of mind for you, you're at the right place tonight, because that's what we're going to be talking about. Libation Live. I'm gonna try and hold out to the bottom of the hour. But if you need to move ahead with your Libation Live, that's okay. And Libation Live, by the way, if you're not familiar with, is not to watch Scott drink booze on camera, although what's wrong with that, right? It's to help share the taste from the road. And that's what this is all about, the discovery, new experiences, new friends on the road. So Elijah Craig is one of my favorite brands. The Jingle Jar is alive and well. And if you want to support the cause, support the Libation Live situation, hit the $ by the chat field, and then it gives you an option to do a super sticker or a super chat. And press the $, you get to see some options there. And we just love to say thanks to Roads of Life YouTube channel, because they came up with the idea that when the jar jingles, you got to take a drink if you're playing the Jingle Jar game. So they're going to be a guest on the show in August. I've been working really hard to get our guest calendar, and I just want to thank Robert for saying yes to that. It's just really awesome. This is the question format we ask you to use, which is 3 stars, 3 question marks, and then your question. That helps me see it more quickly, answer it more readily, and it's just a delight to interact with us. You can see and hear me and Terry, but we can only do interactive with you through the chat. So. And by the way, it's okay if you're chatting amongst yourselves. This is what this is all about. This is the Go Small, Live Large community weekly get-together. So if you're just chatting amongst yourselves and you ask a question and some people are putting answers into the chat, pay attention to that, because there's a lot of experienced travelers in this audience, which is just what the whole point is to be, is to learn, share, and then you decide, right? In fact, since we have a this is great. This is the super chat. So ready? So Matt, thank you. This is what it looks like. And it elevates your question, by the way. Okay, that means everybody has a drink. I don't have anything in my glass yet. Okay, you ready? I'm doing water. The big splash. Thank you, Matt. I think we're going to see you next week. We're going to talk about that in a second. Thank you, sir. Everybody drink and jingle that jar. Yeah, even $1 will make everybody take a drink. So it's so great. I just want to thank everybody. It's just such a great community we built. So where am I coming at you from? I'm coming at you from Arlington, Texas. This is my YouTube live setup for What's Up Wednesday. This is not clearly in my van. So where in the hell is my van? Well, it's down the road about a half hour, because if you weren't familiar with this, I got rear-ended by this Yahoo 2 weeks ago today. That's what happened to his Toyota. God, I can't remember what, I think Tacoma, right? And you can see what happened to the back of my van. It looks like not very much. That tire and the ladder by Rover Vans in Chicago, our friend Peter, You'll be hearing more about this. Literally saved my van. But what you're looking at there on my van is $16,000 worth of damage. And I'm supposed to be picking up from the McLean's RV in Fort Worth, Texas tomorrow afternoon. So we'll see. But that's why I'm not in my van. Where in the heck is Arlington, Texas? Well, it's kind of right here between Dallas and Fort Worth, which is just a huge metropolitan area. Temperatures, it's pretty warm here. Apple weather app has had some data issues lately, so that's why it looks kind of wonky. But look, even Rapid City, South Dakota is pretty warm. It's pretty hot in Phoenix already. And fortunately, it's pretty cool in Bisbee, Arizona. If you look at in the bottom by Arizona, Bisbee temperature, the high is about 74. It cools down to the low 50s at night, which is perfect travel weather. And this is gasoline and real estate in our area. So gasoline is about $3.50 a gallon. The spread's not very much, about 20 cents. And then real estate around here is kind of pricey. Well, I don't know. What do you think? $250 to $400-ish. So still reasonably priced here in the Arlington, Texas area. Love to know where you're coming at you from. We're going to kind of get right into the conversation with Terry, so we're not going to say hi to a lot of folks. But if you are, again, new to the program, please type in NEW. We want to give you a shout out. And even if you're watching the replay, type in NEW, and we want to give you a shout out. If you do not see your country flag on the map, we would love to know what country you're watching from, and then put that flag on the map for a go forward. So this truly is a global program. We're kind of missing out on Africa and South America. So it'd be great if somebody's watching from those two continents. That would be really cool to put a flag on the map. YouTube videos. Last week I posted this. If you're traveling and are kind of looking for some ways to make friends, and you travel solo in particularly, or even as a couple, there's some, I think, some pretty good tips. Got a lot of good feedback on this video. I'm still working on the video for this Sunday. I'm not sure what we're doing yet. That's the way we roll. But if you like videos on these topics, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, what's keeping you? I mean, really. We've been at this for 5 years. We'd love to have you part of our audience. So subscribe, please. And Patreon, I'm really excited to say we're doing a lot of work here, and we've got a really core group of folks that's building every week. What is Patreon? That allows people like you to support creators like me and get special bonus treats of access to stuff. So in this case, we're giving exclusive access to content, to roundups, and Zoom meetings. This is what we got coming up and what we've done over the last couple weeks. So we share urban camp spots with you. We've got a roundup that's a secret steak dinner coming up. We got a Zoom coming up. So it's really intimate and it's interactive because it's on Zoom. So you can make van friends, which is super cool. And the Patreon folks in the crowd tonight will see Miss Lily during surgery photographs. We're posting those tomorrow morning. So just go to patreon.com/go small, live large, and join the party if you want to get more. This is one way to do it. Fair enough. And Instagram's free. So that's pretty cool. I did post something there this week. Let me show you just a couple things, and we're going to bring Terry in. He's being super patient in the green room. Where's my thing right here? So streams and guests. Next week, we're going to do a recap from the Weird Wild West van life event. After that, we're doing open mic night, and then followed by Neil and Vinny from the Adventure Van Expo folks are joining us. They're the one that put on about a dozen Adventure Van Expos across the country. And I'm really excited that at the end of May, we've got Neil and Britt, who are van lifers, sharing their story. But wait, there's more. In-person events, again, to mention the Bisbee event this weekend. Save the dates. The Volta Campout, if you're a Volta customer or want to be, is happening August 24, 27. So it's a few months away. I'm going to be posting probably tonight or tomorrow. We're doing a roundup in Mesa, Arizona at Cabela's. I just need to pick the date. So stay tuned for that. This will be on my website just in short order. And then we're going to be attending the Adventure Van Expo in Chattanooga, Tennessee, October 7 and 8. And if you want to get in and you're in the Tucson area on this Patreon made up in Wilcox, subscribe at one of the 2 levels and you can join us for that special event. I'm so excited. And there's quite a few of you going. And if you like dive bars, you will be in heaven. It's so great. I'm so excited. And then we got the Weird Wild West this weekend with Lily getting out of that's the name of my van, getting out of the hospital tomorrow afternoon, literally at 5 p.m. I got some pretty good assurances from the body shop, from the insurance guy, that everything's looking good for that. But then I have like a 13-hour drive to Arizona, Bisbee. So I'm going to try my best to get there end of the day Friday. I don't know. That's a long drive in one day. Holy cow. But anyway, and I might like the bourbon, right? Yeah, I like the bourbon. And in Bardstown, Kentucky, they've got the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. So I'm working on some special things for the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, which is mid-September. So stay tuned, watch the website, watch this program, and Patreon people are going to get extra special stuff. I'm really excited about this. So I'm working hard on that because that's going to be a big event. Might be an annual thing. I don't even know. Let's see what else we got. I think that's it, right? So with that, what I want to do is kind of bring on our special guest. Let me unmute him from my side. And it's just a delight to have Terry join us. Terry, what's going on?
How's it going, Scott?
Good to see you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. What an honor. I don't think I've missed more than 1 or 2 episodes of What's Up Wednesday, so it's quite an honor to be on here.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's kind of the whole point of this thing, right? This really isn't about me. It's about all of us collectively. And I'm just so delighted for you to share your story with us, because I think your story is unique to you, but there's elements that I think will touch a lot of people. And that's what we really want to share tonight is hearing how Terry got his freedom action plan going. And I'm just really, really excited. So let me just flip this one forward. So this is what we want to talk about for the next, 15, 20 minutes. We're going to take your questions throughout. So again, if you can help us out with the question format, 3 stars, 3 question marks, then your question, and address them to me, address them to Terry for sure. But this is what we want to chat with you about over the next, half hour-ish or so as we answer questions. So we go to the top of the hour. So we got 50 minutes left. So, so we're going to talk about an introduction and how Terry's story kind of started. We're talking about freedom in his terms. It's pretty compelling. Talk about the van process of shopping, taking delivery of his Travato. And he's got some really compelling advice around travel. And then we want to ask him advice, how he would give folks that are shopping, that are already traveling. He's got some really good ideas here. Terry, is that about what we talked about?
Sounds good to me, Scott.
Dynamite. All right, let's talk about just doing a little bit of an intro here. I'm going to put this up and just kind of walk us through your introduction to camping, and we'll talk about how we met in just a minute, but just kind of give us a little background on you and your situation here.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Terry. I grew up in northern Maine. So when I was in high school, I moved from the northern tip of Maine to the southern tip of Florida. So that's quite a change for any teenager. So then when I got down to Florida, I graduated from high school in Florida. I went to the University of Florida, got a degree in electrical engineering. And then my first job was at Motorola. There was 2 big facilities down here in South Florida, and now there's only 1. So I worked for Motorola for 10 years. I was designing 2-way radios for police cars, and then beepers, if anyone remembers what a beeper is. And then we started working on cell phones. Do you, Scott? Good.
You were a cool kid if you had a beeper, man. And when that thing went off, what did everybody do? You had to run for a payphone. Remember payphones? And actually, I had coins in a phone. Yeah, keep going. Sorry, oh my God, a beeper.
So after my 10-year stay at Motorola, I left there and I went to a company that hadn't even got off the ground yet, and it's called SiriusXM Radio. So I worked for SiriusXM for 20 years and basically designing radios for them. So the radios that you have in your cars, hopefully when you're traveling around the country in your van, I helped design those. And about 2.5 weeks ago, I retired. So my new boss is Mrs. Hellstrom, and she's the best boss I've had so far. She lets me go on vacation anytime I want to. So
unlimited PTO, we call that.
That's right.
That's right. That is so great.
In 5 days from now, we will have been married for 30 years. So big 30-year anniversary coming up.
That is so great. That's a beeper. I still can't get over that. Oh my God, that's very cool. I actually saw a functioning payphone last week. I can't remember where it was.
Wow.
I about made a call just to make a call on a payphone. When's the last time you did that, right? Yeah. So tell us about this. So you RVing's been in your family for a while. Is that a fair assumption here?
Yeah. So when both of my boys were younger, they both went through Cub Scouts and then Boy Scouts. So there was a lot of tent camping at the beginning. And when you do tent camping, usually, especially as a Cub Scout, a parent has to go with you. So I have to admit that Mrs. Hellstrom did more tent camping than Mr. Hellstrom did because, there's no air conditioning in a tent and there's no Volta system. So that's just not my cup of tea. We did eventually buy a pop-up camper, and that's this picture here. And we had so much fun in this pop-up camper. We would take trips to the Keys and a lot of state parks all across the state of Florida. So we really had a blast in that. Yeah, so this is a more recent picture in the Travato. So you can see I got both of my boys in the Travato Eagle Scouts drinking beer. So I'm not sure how that happened, but
Like father, like son. I don't know.
seems to be their favorite thing to do in the Travato. Um, yeah. So anyway, when the boys started getting a little bit older, we ended up selling the pop-up camper because they obviously, as kids get older, they have different interests. So we just weren't using that much. So we sold the pop-up, and then there wasn't a whole lot of camping going on in the family for the next several years.
So kind of, yeah, did the RVing thing. It kind of faded a little bit,
Right.
and it kind of came back. I want to share this, and it's again, your story is so inspirational to me. So this picture here, and these all came from Terry. Thank you again for sharing your story and your picture. So what are we looking at here? I mean,
Yep.
just talk about how the RV dream kind of was rekindled.
Sure. So this is my extended family here. My beautiful wife Karen next to me there, my two boys in the front, and I had two sisters with their husbands, and then my mom and dad in the back. So this is one of our family outings. I think it was somewhere in Central Florida on the East Coast. We rented a little beach house, and my dad always loved doing that. So this is probably around 2013, and I think around 2017 is when I started thinking about camping more full time, right? So the thing that was in my mind was we're going to go out and buy a fifth wheel or maybe a Class A motorhome, and my wife and I will maybe travel from national park to national park and almost do a full time basis. So that was what was in my mind, at least. But then as I started speaking more to my wife about it, I started realizing that was sort of my dream. It wasn't necessarily what her priorities were, what her dream was. So at that point, this is around 2017 probably, I kind of put that dream aside and kind of focused on my career. I was doing a lot of trips overseas at that time. And then, what happened in 2019 was that we had some life-changing events occur. So the first thing was that we noticed that my father was starting to become a little ill. He was starting to lose the ability to use, I think it was his left arm. And then it kind of went over to his right arm. And we were going to doctors. We couldn't figure out what the problem was. And then after about a year, in 2019, he was diagnosed with ALS. So anyone who's had to deal with ALS, either with your family or friends, know that it's a terrible disease. I mean, I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. It extends from your arms to your legs, and then eventually you lose the ability to speak, and then you lose the ability to swallow and obviously walk. So it's a very devastating disease. So at that point, we know that he was going to require full-time care if we were going to, especially if we wanted to leave him at home, which is what he wanted to do. So my wife and I, we sold our house. It was in Wellington, Florida, probably about 15 miles away. We sold the house, we downsized, we bought a smaller house within walking distance of my parents so that we could help with the care of that. So then, as that's going on, later in 2019, the same year, I'd probably say in this late summer, my wife was then diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So that kind of turned, everything upside down. What do we do when we're dealing with a father with ALS and now a wife with stage 4 cancer? So at that point, I didn't know exactly. We were making trips to Houston, Texas to, visit doctors out there to make sure we were getting the best care that we could and making the right medical decisions for my wife, because once you get to stage 4, you've got a big hill to climb there. So anyway, as the story goes, one day I was lying with my dad in bed. We would usually try to do anything we could do to cheer him up. And one thing that he, once in a while, I could get a laugh from him was we would put on America's Funniest Home Videos on the TV. And so every once in a while he'd laugh at that. And it just so happened that I had received a pretty nice bonus at work. And usually whenever one of us 3 children would tell him about, something that we had succeeded at, it would make him pretty happy. So I told him about this bonus. Now, this was at a point where his ability to speak was definitely diminishing. But when I told him about this bonus I had received, he's like, "Terry, I'm very proud of you for that bonus, but what good is the bonus going to do to you if you don't have any time to enjoy it?" So, at that point, that really got me thinking, especially when you're, looking at your father, basically unable to speak, unable to move. So that was a pretty emotional time, and it really got me thinking about, life and priorities and how fragile life is. And tomorrow's not guaranteed, especially a healthy tomorrow, right? It's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So how did so what kind of got in your mind? I'm going to flash this on the screen, but we're going to talk about this in a minute. So the dream of travel, the dream of travel in an RV. We're going to talk about this in a minute. His van journal, but did this start percolating? He says, your bonus is great, but how can you put it to better use? Essentially, right?
right, right.
Bank account's not going to do a thing.
Yep.
And so let's flip and talk about this freedom word, because to you, Terry, having gone through that experience and then what you wanted to make happen and then what's happened, in your words, kind of what does freedom mean? Because it's a funny word with a lot of meanings to a lot of different people. What's
Yeah.
freedom mean to you?
Well, I think it's sort of the ability to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, for how long you want to do it, and with the people that you want to do it with, right? So, um, I just to extend that story about my dad. When he put that in motion in my mind, I knew that at that point I wanted to make some changes to really start enjoying freedom and doing different things in my life. And lo and behold, there happened to be a video that came out by some guy named Scott Watson, and it was around that same time of year. It was right around Thanksgiving of 2019. And yeah, I gave him a picture of this video, and I think you called it "Giving Thanks." And when I watched this video, I knew that I wanted to make a change. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what I wanted to do, and I'd been watching your channel, but didn't really think it fit into what I would be doing in the future. And when I watched Scott do this, and Scott expressed how much freedom this van had brought to you over the last few months. I think you bought it in early 2019. Is that right?
Yep.
And it brought you so much freedom and the ability to really, start appreciating the small things in life, right? You were able to slow down, and I think you described every day as being a miracle at that point. So I was like, that's what I want to do. I got to figure out how to do it now. So that when I saw that video, I knew what freedom really meant. So
Yeah, and it's so true. And until you get, and I think it's really unique to the van experience. I mean, you can get your RV, your B Class C, and you're kind of driving your residence around, but a van's a very different way to roll, and you're so much more intimately tied into again, everything you're doing, nature, the night sky, the people. And did people run up on you when you got we're going to talk about your van here in just a second, but anyway, so yeah, it's like being a teenager, the freedom of, but with all the resources of an adult. And
right.
it just is, it's so amazing. So you saw this crazy dude, I guess that'd be me. And then we kind of met, right? This was our first time meeting. Was that
Yeah,
right?
I saw the video, and I started thinking to myself, doing some research online, what kind of van should I get? What kind of layout do I want? And then it wasn't more than 2 weeks later, it could have even been less, I don't know. You announced that you're having an open house, or a van open house. And I was like, man, that'd be nice if Scott was doing that close to my house, but I can't drive that far. And then you announced the location of this, and it was literally 5 minutes from my house. I had no idea you had any association with South Florida whatsoever. So obviously I took my son, and we went out and took a tour of your Travato, and you gave us a tour and answered dozens of questions. Very patient. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, it was so great.
At that point,
Um,
I pretty much made my decision that was the right van for me as well.
And we're going to talk about the Travato in just a second. Why did you land on that? You had some pretty specifics. But for me, this event, I think it was one of the first ones, if not the first one, that wasn't associated with an RV show. And I don't remember Bev. She was a really short lady,
Yeah.
just like a grandma. You just wanted to hug, and she gave us lots of hugs. She even pinched my cheek. I got a picture of it. So funny. Um, and for me, that's really what cemented what this whole thing meant to me, is helping people sow a seed that
Mm-hmm.
will germinate, then turn into whatever it is that they want it to turn into. And I'm just so glad you attended and you took this picture, and we're talking about today, many years later.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna show this. Let's go, go right here. Sorry. We're going to skip this, Terry. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Sure.
But I'm talking about the van, because a lot of people get kind of wrapped up around the van. Super important, right? So why did you choose Travato? What else did you look at?
Well, obviously, I had a big spreadsheet of as many Class Bs as I could possibly find online.
The electrical engineering year or something? How's that
I
work?
guess so, yeah. But I knew I had three things. Hopefully, I can remember what they were. But I had three things that were must-haves for me, and then I had a bunch of would like to haves. A must-have was I needed a real bathroom, right? I wasn't really interested in dumping a cassette toilet into a McDonald's bathroom or anything like that. So I needed a real bathroom with a black tank. I wanted a secondary sleeping area. So one of the things I wanted to do was be able to bring family members with me. Like if one of my sisters wanted to go on a camp out with me, she could go and we could sleep in separate areas, as opposed to a K where you're sleeping next to each other. I really don't want to hear my sister snoring at night. So I want two separate sleeping areas, and the GL obviously accommodated that. And I also wanted a good working space like the table that the G has. So those were my must-haves. And as I went from van to van, there were very few that met all three of those criteria. You can sleep more than two people in a lot of vans, but to have that in separate areas was probably my number one priority, actually. So I went up to Sunshine State RV up in Gainesville and spent several hours up there. We looked at every van that they had, and after looking at probably, I don't know, maybe a dozen different layouts. There was a Road Trek Zion SRT, I think, a short Road Trek. Initially I was thinking that I needed a van that was slightly shorter than the Travato, just so I could park it anywhere. But one of the questions that you answered for me at that initial meetup was that you don't have any problems parking your Travato anywhere you want to go. So it turned out the Travato was the best choice by far for me. The GL.
The GL. Yeah, it's so crazy. I just love this. So this was the big day. So this
Yeah.
is picking up your van. Just tell us what that felt like.
Oh,
What's the name of your van, Terry?
my children named the van, and they named it Trippy. So it's
Trippy.
Trippy the Travato. I don't know what the source of that name is, but I assume it's because I'm going to be taking a lot of trips in it. Yeah.
Trippy. So tell us about the day you picked up Trippy. What did that feel like?
Yeah, I bought Trippy up in General RV up in Jacksonville. So a good 4 to 5 hour drive up to Jacksonville. Signed the paperwork and gave them the check, and then they actually drove the van back for me to the house. So, but yeah, what an amazing, the first time driving the van, I was very, very scared. I was like, what if I wreck this thing on the very first trip out? But yeah, I was surprised how easy the vans are to drive, to be honest with you. I mean,
Yeah,
especially when you see somebody like the lady that you spoke at.
Bev.
Her
She
van
was
is 24 feet.
she was the smallest lady. She's so lovely. We've seen her many times after. She's got the biggest van. She's got the biggest Sprinter Winnebago era you get. So you get this late. She's literally like what 5'5" maybe,
Maybe, yeah, 5'2".
and she's driving this big old thing, and it's just like she is so adorable. Tell us. Let's talk about this, Terry, because I think let's give a pause. We're going to answer some questions before we get into the travel element. We got a lot of folks in here tonight. This is so great. A lot of good questions. So again, this was a survey we put up. So let's kind of, again, answer this question from your perspective, kind of helping people get things more in motion or whatever. But what's holding you back from traveling more in your camper van? My job. Did you work from your rig at all after you picked it up?
I did some, but my particular job as an engineer, I needed a lot of equipment. So I had it all in here for a couple of months, and I was powering it all by the Volta system. But then I realized I don't really want to use the van for doing this. So I took everything out and left it in the house for a while until I decided I was going to call it quits. So
I think we're going to see a roundup picture we did with you, and you had this like server satellite setup. There was
right.
like, what'd you do to your galley or your great room, man? Holy cow! It was like a sci-fi chasing. I don't know, it was something else.
Yeah.
So what's holding you back from the question being, what's holding you back from traveling more in your van? So your family at this point, Mrs. H was like, go for it. I'm not gonna in your way. Chase your dream. How the boys were cool.
Yep. Her
What was that
cancer
like?
was in remission. I'm happy to announce that she is now cancer free 3.5 years later. So
So amazing.
thank goodness for that.
Van life miracle.
Yeah. So when I explained this whole plan to her about getting a van and traveling a lot with it, she was fully on board with it. Not to travel with me, but she was very happy that I had a plan that was going to make me happy. Karen is extremely devoted to her church, her Greek Orthodox church. And I have to brag a little bit. She's got a beautiful singing voice. and her devotion to the church has really, I think, had a big impact on that church. So her church is at St. Catherine's in West Palm Beach. My church is something like sitting on the beach in my Travato with the doors open and breeze blowing in. So
I love that. That's so great. I saw Jerry Minchie in the room. Jerry and I met at church, which is our code word for a BAR. Just love that. So again, what's holding you back from traveling more in your camper van? Health. So you had your dad's situation, you had your wife's situation. Was that kind of impetus to kind of get moving? Don't wait
oh, for
10
sure,
more years, right?
man. You when you go through things like that, that's when you learn how fragile life is, and that tomorrow's not guaranteed, next month's not guaranteed, and certainly next year's not guaranteed. So unfortunately, sometimes you have to go through things like that with your family or with yourself before you realize that. And hopefully that people, can start thinking outside the box a little bit.
It's so well said. Okay, we're going to pause on the travel. Let's answer some questions here. We got a bunch of folks in here. This is so great. So if you can help me with the question of 3 dots, or 3 asterisk, 3 question marks to help me find it. So here's Bill and Joe. And you guys got to get together on a regular basis, right?
I love Bill and Joe.
I know, they're so funny, right? And they're kind of working on getting their van. Here's Rob in the house. So thanks for being there. Back in Minneapolis. Is it spring there yet? Holy cow. We're not going to say a whole lot to some of the regulars just so we can get more of Terry's story out. Roads of Life's got a question here. Did you make it to Weird? No, I'm in Arlington, Texas. You probably figured that out, right? Stand by.
You need a super chat, Scott, because I'm getting thirsty.
Okay, this is for Terry and Rob. Everybody drink. That's one on the house. Let's see. There's some good ones here I thought I saw. Yeah, here's Jerry checking in from Costa Rica. We need to put that on the flag. Okay, I need to make a mental note. Costa Rica. That's. Thanks for being here, Jerry. Appreciate that. So here we go. And then Britt and no, this is to. I'm sorry. So more vans. They have an Embassy RV. The one that got me to my Etsy grow. If you're having Robert Roads of Life on as a guest, you'll need his written commitment that he won't sing. Do you sing, Terry? Are you a?
You do not want to hear me singing.
Yeah, sing.
You want to hear my wife singing, not me.
That's what it sounds like. Matt says, "Take it easy getting to Bisbee." Yeah, I'm trying really hard to get there. If I get this thing out tomorrow afternoon, I hate driving at night. Do you like driving at night, Terry?
No, I mean, I've done it a couple times, and even worse than that, driving at night and then it starts raining. There's nothing worse than that.
And the ProMaster standard headlights are just the worst.
Oh, terrible. Yeah.
They're just absolutely. I mean, they should really be illegal. I'm not sure how they get away with it. So I really don't want to drive at night. And tomorrow I've got a full day. Even though I'm at the hotel, I've been recording at a bunch of places. We got some really cool content coming out. I'm really, really excited. So I don't know. We'll see. So this is a question from Justin. This is so Justin wants to know, Terry, I know you've done a number of modifications and changes to your Travato. What would you rank as having the biggest improvement to the van?
Boy, that's a good one. I got to look around. You've seen my wine cellar up above here. I don't dare just move my computer because I won't get it back. But yeah, I removed my television. I removed my radio, and I kind of built a little shelf area that's where my that's my that's my liquor cabinet. So that's where my rum and my vodka is right now, and the wine on the other side. So I'm not sure how well that's going to go over the first time I get pulled over by a policeman, but we'll see.
That'll be fine. I've asked a few cops, and they as long as you're not drinking it and it's not in the front seat, right. It's clearly a motorhome. So.
Other than that, I've installed a Wii Boost. That's come in very helpful a couple of times, and then I relocated my television to the back of the van because I always sleep with my feet against the back doors. So by having the TV back there, it kind of was a better experience than having it up towards the front here. So.
And how about your shower situation, sir?
Oh yeah, I did help after that initial meetup. I think I volunteered to help Scott install a new shower in his Travato as well. So we came over to my house and we put it in, including the famous soap dispenser. Right? So yeah, I think hopefully you enjoyed it.
You want to tell that story? You want me to tell it?
I'll let you tell that one.
So Terry's helping me install my shower, which it works. I've had to change the washers a couple times, but what we couldn't, and it worked great. So I was actually watching him do the work. It was awesome, and we got the soap dispenser in because the Travato had two holes. So one's for the faucet, one's for the soap dispenser. I'm like, that's kind of handy. Why not, right? The problem is you have to there's a big long hose that and you put the big jar of the shower or the soap in the under the galley sink. So it's like a 3-foot hose, and I'm pumping this thing, and I'm pumping this thing, and I'm actually got to the point where I think I was sucking on the hose, wasn't I, at one point?
Yes.
Trying to get the soap up to I know. And I'm like, oh, it's close, right? So I put the thing on, I'm nothing's going out. And then I think Terry gave us some pumps, right?
Yeah.
And then I went back to it, and then a big old
We got more soap than you wanted.
It was I don't know why it's so funny, but it's just the way it happened in the tee up and a lot of hand action. Then I get a big load of soap in the bowl. So I'll never forget that. We laughed, and we're still laughing about it. It's pretty funny. Oh my God, how funny. Mason Mike's got a question here. Terry, I'm very envious of your retirement status. How long did it take to really sink in that you are retired? That's a beauty.
That is a
sunk
good
in yet?
It's been 2.5 weeks, and so far after these 2.5 weeks, I wish I could have done it 10 years earlier. I had a lot of people at work that were like, why are you retiring so early? What are you going to do to feel productive? And in these last 2.5 weeks, I have had no problems not feeling productive. So, I mean, it's the thing that I didn't expect to happen quite as much was when you're able to slow down and really take life in, actually comprehend what's going on around you, absorb, realizing how nice the weather is and how good do you feel after a good workout, things that you might have, previously just kind of passed by because you were so busy, you had to get to work or get to a meeting. Now you can really, appreciate what life is, offering you. So.
Yeah, it's so true. Right. And even though I drive, I'm moving pretty fast. I'm not retired. I have a very full-time job, several quite full-time jobs. It's again, just being in the experience of the nature, the people, the history around you. That if you had a corporate job, you just miss it, right? That's my experience anyway. So we got to say hi to Pash. What's up, dude? My former Apple colleague. He kind of retired out of Apple, but he's got a whole bunch of real passion projects he's got going. Thanks for being here off the LinkedIn. How cool is that, right? Here's this is a good one. Then we're going to talk about travel here in a minute. So hang tight. I might have to pour some Elijah Craig in my glass while Terry answers this. So Terry, life is good. Tomorrow I will be checking out a 2016 Pleasureway Ascent. I might be buying. What are questions you would ask the sellers, former neighbors? Very trustworthy. They are asking $80K for that.
2016. I'm not real familiar with the Ascent, but I guess the questions I'd ask for any band is, number one, have you had any accidents with it? What did they love with it, and what did they not like so much about it? And usually at that point, 2016, most of the big bugs have been already fixed, right? It's like when I got my van in early 2020, I had multiple problems. I had to get a new inverter. I had to get a new air conditioner. I think there was a couple other things, but they all happened in the first few months, so they were all covered under warranty. And as soon as the warranty ran out, I haven't had any more problems. Knock on wood. So, I think I would, ask them about what their experiences were with it and why did they buy it in the first place.
Yeah, that's great advice. I would also add to that probably I do some research on RV Trader. Life is good to see if that price point's about right. I would definitely have a mobile RV technician go through it. Now you're lucky because it says former neighbors, so and then how many miles are on the van chassis kind of indicates how much it's been used. So I definitely have an RV mobile technician look at it. I'd have it take it to a whatever chassis it's on, have them look at it based on mileage. If it's kind of getting up there in years, maybe not mileage, but a lot of people have their RVs sitting around, so stuff starts to decay. The hoses and the belts by not being used enough. So, what else would we recommend them, Terry? I would say think through why do you want to travel in a van, and how does that floor plan and RV systems enable your why? I mean, if you're buying a van just to get one, that's cool. But if it really doesn't have, for example, a lithium system and you want to be boondocking, but you need the AC, then how are you going to deal with that? So I think there's some of that.
Be nice if the neighbors would let them use it for a couple of days just to get a feel for it.
Yeah, right. So true. Well, keep us posted on that. Here's Ryan. Man, he's been here for a long time. Ryan, thank you for being here tonight. What a great episode. I agree. I just love hearing other people's stories. It's so great. Matt's kind of concurring here. Thank you, Terry, for telling your story. Appreciate that. Yeah, Deborah's. So just feel free to chat amongst yourselves here. She's got some follow-up information here. Life is good. Greetings, Redondo Beach, checking out 16. 40,000 miles, asking 82,000. Just went up $2,000. What should I ask our former neighbors? So you got some relationship there. They're probably not going to sell you a lemon, would be my guess. But again, RV technician, inspection. I'd have to take it to whatever the chassis is on. And we got quite a few folks from. Here's Peggy. Hi, Scott. Great show, Peggy. I'm pretty sure. I must say I know you. That's great. We got people from LinkedIn on here. Here's Mrs. H. Terry's boss here. Hey, Scott. Did you realize that you're wearing the same shirt from the video that Terry first saw you on that Thanksgiving? No, a different one. That was an orange one. I should have saved that shirt. It was a plaid. I found it at a Goodwill. I've upgraded now, and now I go buy these almost on sale, full price Wranglers. But
only Karen would notice something.
The cowboy plaid. It was an orange shirt. I paid probably $8 for that compared to 28. But thank you for looking at that. Was a great shirt. It was one of my favorites. There's a few I actually wish I didn't get rid of, but we're in a van, so it's one in, one out, and you got to make a decision, right?
Right.
But thanks for being here, Karen, Mrs. H, I say, and thanks for supporting y'all's dream. It's just so great.
For sure.
Yeah, cool to have your wife in here. So here's oh wow, no way. Here's
M&M.
I'm not sure which one that is.
I don't know.
Terry said, "I've met one of them. They got what's your dog's name? You got a really cool dog.
Yeah, Courage.
What is it?
Courage.
That is not what I remember, but
he's half corgi and half mini Australian Shepherd. So.
He's a great dog. Yeah, so glad that your wife was able to beat stage 4. A true blessing for sure. So, okay, here we go. So now we have to drink. So Bill and Joe, thank you. We met Bill and Joe at the everybody drink at a roundup we did at a Harvest Host in Florida. I can't remember the name of the town. Oakland Park, something like that. It was the
Chainbridge Distillery. Yeah,
Chainbridge Distillery. You like that vodka? I brought that vodka to the Venmo gathering. It was really tasty. So if you're not a member of Harvest Host, you'll want to check that out, and you can save 15%, lock in your price. Go to my website. I got fruit fly in here. Go smalllivelarge.com, and then there's on the front page. But Harvest Host is just the coolest thing, isn't it?
It's awesome. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Actually, my wife and I are going to be. I've convinced her to spend one night at a Harvest House for our anniversary celebration. So.
It's so great. Peggy, are you still working, Terry? If so, what do you do? Live in High Springs, Florida. So 2 weeks ago you did. 2.5 weeks ago? 3 weeks?
But officially retired now. Yeah. So I'm going to be hanging around the house here for a few more days, finishing up a few projects that the boss gave me. And once those are done and the anniversary celebration is complete, I will be heading west towards Texas area. So.
That's so great. This is so Terry. Truthfully, which side are you playing?
Man,
the one watching the program tonight. That's so funny.
My older son is a teacher now, a school teacher. They're both in their 20s, and the younger son, which I think this one, he just graduated with his degree in computer science. So if anyone out there needs a computer scientist, leave a comment down below.
He's for hire, huh? Computer scientist for hire. So I met your other son. That's the teacher. He's a cool guy. Is it
Carl?
Carl. I was going to say Carter. Carl. Yeah. Sorry.
Carl and Kyle. Yeah.
So one more question here, then we'll let's talk about travel. So Roads of Life wants to know, Terry, what do you like best about your van, and what do you like least? Also, if something happens to your Travato, would you get another one? Ooh.
I can tell you what I like most about it, in the van in general, not necessarily my specific van, is that, how many, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here because most of you probably have vans, but how many places have you gone to and then you're saying to yourself, I couldn't do this in a fifth wheel, or I couldn't do this in a Class A motorhome, right? It just gives you so much flexibility. And now specifically to my van, it's sort of the three things that I pointed out before. I love the separate seating area, and I know that the newer GLs don't have that. Sorry, Mike. And the fact that we have a real bathroom and the bed is very, very comfortable. I mean, I put a 2-inch foam topper on the bed because initially when I got the van, I was waking up with very sore shoulders, but that 2-inch topper made all the difference to me. So I think in general, it's the flexibility and the comfort that the GL provides. So if I would get another one, I think if I couldn't find another GL, and you've probably heard Scott speak very similarly to this, if I couldn't find another GL with a separate sleeping area, I probably would go the custom van route and have somebody build exactly the layout that I wanted, because I wasn't aware that there were so many custom van builders out there, but man, it's amazing how many there are now.
Yeah, it's true. Great question. So this is kind of funny. Are you ready for this, Terry?
Sure. Terry's other son. Okay.
It's a family affair tonight. Isn't this the funniest thing? Kyle, thanks for being here. So I guess Carter's the other one. It's Carl. Sorry. Carl or Carter? No, I got
Carl.
Sorry, Carl. What's up, Carl? I met you. We've had pizza together, I think, right? Yeah. And you joined Dad that very first meetup. So thanks for helping push the dream. All right, let's talk about travel a little bit. How are we doing on time? Oh my gosh, this always goes so fast. Are we having fun? Give us a thumb up. We got over 100, like 108 people in here. 110. So we should have 110 thumbs up. If you can hit that like button, that will really help. Terry, what are we looking at here? So the first one we saw you at a roundup, you did not have a van. Right. This one, you do have a van. I think yours is in the, let me zoom in here so you can see. Yep. I think yours is the one with the big old
Mine's got a kayak on top. That's right. Yep. So this is a roundup that you did at the Anchor Inn in Lake Worth. Is that right?
Yeah, Boynton Beach. Yeah, whatever.
Near the Intercoastal. So I think we had a good 7 or 8 vans there. And when I was telling Scott earlier that when I was driving to this roundup, I knew that there was a few other YouTubers that were in the Florida area, and I said, man, it would be cool to meet more YouTubers other than just Scott. I mean, Scott's great, but it'd be nice to meet some more people. And lo and behold, Scott had
your prayer was answered. Who are these people? Terry's in the red arrow.
Right.
There's me in the plaid. I still have that shirt. Anybody recognize the other two?
Three from 30 and a Wake Up, right? And Chad and Paul.
Yep. And sadly, none of them are in the van life influencing business anymore. Kevin sold his. He's now the cruise ship influencer, and Chad and Paul don't even have a van anymore. They're stationed in Colorado. So I'm the only one still doing this, ladies and gentlemen. There's not many of us out here still doing this, so it's pretty cool. But that was a fun day, right?
It was awesome, yeah.
Tell us about this. This was pretty cool.
Yeah, so that was a follow-up meetup that you had, and this was on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. So I had my boss joined us for this one, Mrs. Hellstrom. And I think Kyle was there, and I think there's at least one other band. And I think that my biggest memory, other than the beautiful sunrise on this meetup, was when we had a neighbor or a resident from right across the street saw these vans parked, and he had to come over and start asking some questions. And as the patience that Scott has, Scott stood there and answered questions for at least an hour. And this guy was really interested in van life. And as a result, I think we all were offered a free parking spot anytime we wanted to go park across the street on the beach, right? So.
Yeah, it was. No, I have not taken him up on that, but I still have his phone number. We should take him up on that. We did a sunrise. Sunrise. We showed up in the dark and we saw the sun come up. Probably no surprise to this group. We did. You got to do Bloody Marys on a Sunday morning when the sun coming up, right?
Of course.
So we had donuts, and this was, I think, the last one that we had with Luke, our cat. It was just such a great morning, and I think the whole point of this is just your van takes you places. People are curious about it. You make friends. You're making memories. I think we got one more. Let's just show the van with the this fruit fly is really persistent. I love this. This is something you'll never see on my van.
Yeah, so one of my hobbies is photography, and especially photography from a kayak, because I feel like that's where you can get some of the best nature shots. And so it took me quite a while to figure out how was I going to get this 12-foot kayak on top of the Travato. So I had a few failures, but finally I figured out that by putting a ladder up like this and then 2 straps on either side, I was able to sort of walk the kayak up as far as I could go with the straps and then climb the ladder and flip it over. So I pretty much got it down to an art now. So
You know they make inflatable kayaks, right?
There's also alligators in Florida, so that's why I don't do that.
Oh, that's a good point. Touche. Okay, this is might be my favorite one. So tell us what we're doing here. I'm not sure if we got beyond attention here tonight, but this is beautiful. This is the whole point, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So one of my favorite places in Florida is Sanibel Island on the west coast. Unfortunately, it got very heavily damaged by Hurricane Ian last year. But I was on the causeway there, where people you can't stay overnight there, but you can certainly park your van in right on the water. So I happened to look outside my van and I saw a National Park Edition GL parked down the way a little bit. So I decided I was going to go introduce myself to them. So I went over, and lo and behold, they had purchased their van the day before, and from a neighbor that couldn't use it anymore. They had no idea how to use it. So I literally spent, I think, about half of a day teaching them how to use every system in their Travato. And as a result, they allow me to stay on their property on Sanibel Island anytime I want to go there. And we've been very good friends since, the friendliest people you could ever meet. And that's one of the things that has kind of not surprised me, but it's been a nice thing to find out, is that any person in a van that I've ever met, man, they're just so friendly, so approachable.
It's so true, right? We're just a different breed. I just love that story. And have you found, Terry, that you help people help you?
Absolutely.
It's kind of this community of helping each other. It's really unique in the world we live in today, in my opinion.
This is another kind of example of how van life has affected me, because by nature I'm very much an introvert. I mean, I'm not a person who normally would walk up to a stranger and start talking, but anywhere I go now during my travels, it doesn't matter if it's a Cracker Barrel parking lot or a Planet Fitness. If I see another van, especially a Travato, nothing is stopping me from walking up there and starting a conversation, and usually one that lasts at least an hour.
Yeah, it's so true. So a couple more to show you. I think this one's really poignant. We started, with your dad's story, and so again, the van you went up to, this is your sister's in Maine, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, so my dad passed away. We lost him in September of 2020. So about a year and a half after I had purchased the van. He was able to see the van. I was never able to get him into the van, but he was very happy to see that I got it. So, we grew up in Maine. He grew up in northern Maine. He was born there. So we took his ashes, my sister and I. We drove them in the van to northern Maine, back to where he grew up. And this is where we spread his ashes, one of his favorite spots in I think he used to spend many days there when he was a child, in northern Maine. Very, very, very peaceful, beautiful. My heart is still in Maine for sure.
Yeah, that's so great. Let's take a few questions, and then we're going to talk about advice. We're running out of time. This is how this usually rolls, but there's some good questions in here, and I see a super chat. Let's call out them really quick. I wish I could click this so it pops to the top. So, are you ready for this? This is so great. The boss is donating to the cause tonight. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate Mrs. H. We really enjoyed your show this evening, guys, from Carol, Carl, Kyle, Taddy, Courage, and man, yeah, more people than you were alluding to, sir.
Thank you, Bill.
Oh, entourage. Yeah, thank you. And they're just the loveliest people. Mrs. H is she's just, you're really lucky to have a gal like that. She's just a great mom, great wife, just a great partner. And on their face, she's very patient with us when you're helping me with the, when you were installing my sink faucet thing, and then she made dinner, and we brought it, I can't remember what it was, and just so gracious, right? It's just, this, if we didn't have a van, Terry, we never would have met, never would have family, this is how this stuff rolls, ladies and gentlemen. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm telling you, it's just the magic of the community.
I remember having the conversation with Karen about me purchasing a van and traveling in it, and I can remember the response was, "Is it going to make you happy?" And of course.
So let's we might go a few minutes over. Is that going to be okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So Gary's. So I don't recognize your name, Gary. So welcome. Thank you for being here, Terry. Your story really resonates with me. You can't get the time back. Full-time travel and Embassy RV is our future. What was the biggest learning curve you had traveling in a camper van? Beautiful question.
Yeah. I think, especially now that I'm retired, I think the biggest problem that I had initially was trying to go too far in too short of a time. one of the things you got to do with a van is you got to enjoy the places that you go to, right? So if if I want to go to Texas, I shouldn't be planning to do that in 1 week, right? If I find a place on the way there that I want to spend 3 days, I should be able to do it. So I think, if you're only doing it part-time and you're still working and you only have a few days, then, try not to plan, not to spend, 9 hours of those days driving, right? You don't want to do that. So
Yeah,
slow down, slow down.
I actually have a sign in my great room in my van that says "slow." I should say "the hell down" because I drive. I've gotten much better at, but I love this one. Thank you. Live free in a van. Very inspiring. I agree. Thank you, Terry, for being here. I just love this stuff because this is all about us together. Mason Mike wants to. Hey Terry, now that you're retired, you're going to venture out west. You mentioned Texas. So how far west do you want to get?
Yeah, so I have a 90-year-old aunt that lives in Fort Worth that I haven't seen in probably 10 years. So I want to go out and see her. So I'm going to kind of do the Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, Houston kind of loop, and then eventually head back home. And probably we'll do that, a few days after our big anniversary celebration here in a few days. So.
Yeah, that's so great. And the West is so different than even the South or the. I haven't been on the East Coast too much, but so Kathmandu's saying retirement fear is staying too long. When you finally retire, you're too old to travel. I've seen it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, it is. I almost want to go help some of these folks, and they're usually in the big rigs, towables. And here is Neil and Britt in the house. Thanks for being here, Neil and Britt. They're going to be on the show at the end of next month. Thanks for sharing your story. I love hearing personal experiences. Me too. Matt, I think you missed a country flag. That'd be Texas. It used to be a country. Maybe I'll do that just to bring that up because a lot of people don't know. It was its own country for about 20 years before the Civil War. And Terry, Sherry's got a good idea. You might have to have Terry host What's Up Wednesday next time you need a guest host. Terry, what do you think?
And I told Scott before we started, I said, I hope I don't single-handedly bring down his whole channel tonight. So.
You're doing fine. This is great. Here's Alfred is on his way to Bisbee. I can't wait. We got so many regular and new folks. I'm doing my best to get there. Let's see. Makes my inside joke, Terry. Been back to HH Summer Crush Winery lately.
That's one place that I did bring my sister with me, and yeah, I think my sister enjoyed it more than I did. Sorry, Debbie.
Okay, so let's shift gears. Let's kind of get through this advice part because I think this is pretty poignant. Terry's got some really good stuff for you. So let's share this. We'll go just a few minutes over. I've not had that much. Let's talk about advice. So Terry, it's super important, I think, for people to hear from your experience some advice for folks. So what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so I decided I wanted some way to remember these journeys that I'm going on. A lot of my journeys before I retired were fairly short. They might be only 2 or 3 days long, or if I took a vacation, maybe a week at the most. So I made sure that I started my own little van journal. And if anyone wants to see it, it's called thevanjournal.net. And that's where I try to document all of my outings. So I'll put a few pictures, put a few words to those pictures. I think the worst thing that you can do is go on, several awesome trips, and then if you can't remember them, it's a shame. And sometimes just looking at pictures through your phone maybe isn't enough, right? You want to put some words to those pictures so that you can really remember the experience as good as you can.
So it's such a great idea. Because of what I do, that'd be a YouTube guy. I take lots of pictures, but to your point, I look at a picture on my phone. I can tell you right exactly. It takes me right back to that moment. What are we looking at here? This just happened, I think, last month.
Florida Van Life Gathering. Yeah, that was in Dade City, Florida. That was December, or was it February? I think
early February. Yep.
Yep. Awesome get together. Over 350 vans, I think. Yep. What an experience! I had just recovered a few weeks earlier from COVID, but it didn't bring me down. Scott, one thing I want to say about this is I was parked next to you during this outing, and I was amazed at how many people were coming up to you, asking you questions, and you spent as much time with each person as they wanted, and I was very impressed. So I think collectively, a big thank you from the whole group.
The whole community. I mean, it was really a collective effort. and it's card. We've talked about this event on What's It Wednesday a few weeks ago, but I love the one we bring it back up. So the one in the upper right hand corner, the dark one, that's Frisco T's Coachman Beyond. She became kind of center of camp. We put up a table that was kind of Bourbon Central, Bourbon Street. And everybody just was really gracious. The picture below that is when I was doing an urban camping workshop, which I hope to do this Saturday in Bisbee. But again, it was all of us working together to put this thing on kind of in real time, right? Rob did make us take a big groupie after it, and it's just such a great thing. And yeah, people did. It was somewhat taxing, but everybody was contributing to the van story. How many van tours did you give? And everybody, that's the whole thing. So talking about the vanjournal.net, here's some advice to talk about this, Terry.
Yep. So one of the things I like to do on my trips out, one of my hobbies is nature photography. So this is a bald eagle that I took. I think this was on Lake Kissimmee in Central Florida. Wow. But like I said before, and Scott put some good words here, short description with words, pictures, and video clips can tell such a great story. You don't want to forget these experiences that you go on. So spending, and they don't take that long, right? Spending 15, 20 minutes, and it's fun to relive those experiences.
Yeah, totally.
I can't believe on Squarespace. I go ahead and spend I think it's $100 a year, but it makes it so easy to put together a journal like this.
And you took this picture, right?
I did. Yep.
This looks like something right out of National Geographic. It's pretty impressive. This one too impressed me. And I've never seen a bird with barnacles on it. I mean, you must have had to, wait out there and wait for hours to get this photograph. What is that? A seagull on top?
It's a seagull sitting on what you think is the bird, but in reality, it's just a piece of wood sticking out of the water, and the bird is facing in the opposite direction. But I thought that maybe I could trick a few people with this photo.
That'd be me. I'm like, how on earth did you get this thing? That is amazing. And barnacles on a bird? I just love it. Okay, so let's answer a few more questions, Terry. There's some good ones coming in. Thank you for again sharing this. This is so great. Maybe let's do this before we go there. So let me shift this up. Let's talk about this really quick. I think this is part of the advice part, right? So again, back to our survey. What's holding you back from traveling more in your camper van? The number one answer is, I need a van. Terry, what would you tell somebody that's looking for a van, that wants to do travel in a van, that wants to talk about everything or experience a lot of things you've talked about tonight? What's some advice you'd give for somebody that needs a van?
Well, I wouldn't let the costs hold you back if possible. If you can't afford to make the jump into something like a Travato or a Coachman Beyond right now, just buy an empty van, right? You can go out and probably get a used cargo van for a few $1,000s, and slowly over time you can start building out. I think one of the more popular van YouTubers is Van City Van Life. You might want to look at some of his videos, and he started out with an empty van, and over time, as he started getting more resources, he started building out into exactly what he wanted. So,
yeah, I totally concur. I think just getting in motion, even if it's, you have aspirations to build it out yourself, you got way more moxie than I would ever do. But just getting a van, you've taken a step forward in your journey. If it's a mattress in your van and a Coleman stove and what do you call those, jerry cans of water? If that's where it starts, hey, you started. I'm serious as a heart attack. And once you get started, you show those around you, you have commitment to this, and then your dream just keeps building and you get going. And there are so many, again, look at RV Trader if you're looking for the one that's built out. There is plenty of vans, ladies and gentlemen, on lots, and they are willing to deal. Let me tell you. Put it that way. What was I going to ask you about this? Also, it just escaped me. Let's take a few more questions, and we got our song of the week. This is Terry's song. So Peggy on LinkedIn wants to know, Terry, will you and your wife be going full time or keeping your home base?
Yep, definitely keeping the home base. The wife isn't as interested in traveling in the van as I am, and I'm also very fortunate that my wife still works. So that really helps. She works for the school system, so she's bringing in the medical insurance and some salary, and both boys are actually still living at home. So I don't feel quite as guilty right now leaving her home because she's not going to be here by herself. So
That makes sense. And now I know why it connects. So the Florida Van Life Gathering was one. You guys have the Embassy RV. I think we drank a lot of wine, didn't we, Peggy? Which is kind of nice about being famous. You go around, you just have to have your cup with you, right? So I just kind of walked around with an empty cup, and we had a lot of fun. And we're gonna have this much fun this weekend. I'm so excited.
I brought all the empty bottles home with me, by the way. So.
What?
I brought all the empty bottles home with me to recycle.
You're nice. So this is how it works right here, ladies and gentlemen. See, Mice and Mike, and then Neil and Britt, they're going to connect, and they can do their own things on their own time. It's so great. This is great. So this is Frisco T. She has a YouTube channel called Beyond the Fern. She's got a Coachman Beyond. She was Florida Van Life Gathering Central Park. I mean, the Bourbon Table. Terry, you've inspired me to start updating my travel photo page. I'm a year and a half behind. Start today. Don't do the look back. That's one thing I've learned. Just start today and do forward, right? Create a new habit. Speaking of new habits, I have really created some new habits in the last 2 weeks that I've got to share with you guys and gals. It has completely changed the way I'm working right now. But the point being is start today. Don't try and rewrite the history. Just start today and create a new habit forward. But Frisco T, she's amazing.
Teresa, unfortunately, on a few campouts, she's been stuck camping next to me, and she has to smell the bacon that I cook every morning for breakfast.
So again, just a big shout out to Terry. Thank you, Terry, for sharing your story. You've done super great, and everybody give a thumb up. Appreciate that. We're not doing that. We're past this. I want to get to the song of the week, and you can tell it's a song that kind of came out in the 80s because we're using CDs. For you young folks, we used to have CDs. It's actually hard to find a CD player these days. Phonographs have come back. Go figure. Terry's song of the week is
Highwayman by the Highwaymen.
By the Highwaymen. Yeah. This was released in 1985. It was 2 years after I graduated high school. To put a milestone on that, I had no idea. I knew Johnny Cash. I kind of knew Willie Nelson a little bit. But I discovered country music through the van life experience. Why is this your favorite song? One of your favorite songs?
I think it's mostly because these four guys are just legends of country music, right? And I really wasn't into country music all that much. And for some reason, when I started traveling in the van, it kind of connected for some reason. So I just like the lyrics of this. You look it up afterwards. It's got a really neat story to it. So
yeah, it's and they're just legends, right? I mean, Johnny Cash, hello, he is country music. Willie Nelson still singing. He's like what, 80 something, maybe even 90.
90, I think.
Waylon died in, I'm going to say in the early 90s, and Chris is still going, right?
Yes.
So just it's a great song. If you haven't heard this in a while, spin this up on your music player. Terry, just a couple more questions, then we'll call it a wrap. Let's see. Frisco T says she loves the bacon. Rebecca's saying, couldn't agree more about documenting Instagram. Reels are an easy way to do that. We make one for each destination. Great idea. And then Mason Mike says, hey, Terry, how many scratches have you put on the van putting that kayak on the roof? Oops.
I put a lot, yes.
It's so great.
I think I would have a hard time selling my van right now. I've done so many scratches on it.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of in the same boat. Now I've got a car wreck involved, and oh my God, it's just crazy. So we just want to say a big thank you for Terry for kind of getting out of your comfort zone a little bit and joining us tonight. You were a little nervous. You did fantastic, just like I knew you would. And it's just a great big thank you for sharing the story. It's a story people need to hear because it just need to get your butt in motion a lot of times, right? Chase your dream because your dream will not chase you. And it's so true. So, and thanks for the whole Hellstrom family for being here tonight. It's so great. It's so great. And maybe I'll put you on the list, Terry, for a What's Up Wednesday guest host.
There we go.
Down the road because you did great. But just thanks again for being here. Thank you, everybody, for any last words of wisdom, Terry?
Yeah, I mean, mostly I want to thank you, Scott, for the inspiration because I think I tell you many times, don't ever underestimate the impact that you have on so many people. And I think I'm really doing this because of my dad and because of you. I think you guys were in cahoots and got me into this lifestyle. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's called Van Life Miracle. And there's literally a miracle in your day every day if you look for it. And I am more in tune with that than ever. And it's things like this that just bring it real. So again, thanks, Terry. Thanks to each and every one of you, because this is what drives me forward. I wouldn't be doing this without you. So Terry, thank you. We'll see you soon. Mrs. H, I will see some of you crazies in Bisbee, Arizona in just a couple days. I'm going to get there as fast and as safely as I can. I'll be there Saturday for sure. We'll see what it brings. So let me get Lily out of the hospital first. That's the first priority. So thank you, everybody. Barry, sit right there, and we will count down to ending the stream. Where'd my cursor go? Right there. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Really appreciate it.